Let's put this whole SADC summit into perspective and give you a bit of history and background as far as this organization, the Southern African Development Community is concerned, SADC. As we've told you, it has got 16 member states. It is marking its 46th summit. It was founded on the 1st of April in 1980. Back then, it wasn't known as SADC. It was SADCC, the Southern African Development Coordination Committee, I believe it was, SADCC. Only in 1992 does it become SADC at its summit in Windhoek in Namibia. It's got 16 member states, and they are as varied as you can imagine, those 16 member states, because they do draw membership from countries that you would expect, because geographically they are in Southern Africa, but also countries that you ask yourself, you know, if you look at the map of Africa, you think of Tanzania, the United Republic of Tanzania. It's more to the east than it is to the south, but it's alignment, isn't it? Some of it born out of the histories of these particular countries. You'll know, of course, about Tanzania's support for Southern African liberation movements, and therefore there are all of those ties. And then we've got countries like Angola to the west. Not that I'm saying it doesn't make sense, I'm just now citing other examples of countries. It also has 4 countries that are island nations, and that becomes important in other conversations, for instance, conversations about climate change, for example. So your Madagascars, your Comoros, Mauritius, as well as Seychelles will make up those countries that are island nations. 400 million people, and that really is the capital, isn't it? The capital of SADC and other regional blocs such as these. That's where the power lies, and that's where the conversation about more integration, more trade, and more markets to be developed comes in, because you are dealing with countries that make up a GDP of some 880 billion rand estimated regional GDP. South Africa, of course, being one of the powerhouses of the Southern African billion dollars, not rand. I'm being corrected there. Of course, as we were talking about the GDP share, I have to tell you about South Africa, because it contributes some 46.1%. That is the share of South Africa of the regional GDP. So really massive. But that's not to say the other countries don't, are slackers in any way, because as far as exports are concerned, SADC countries export something in the region of $296 billion, and they import, and these are figures from 2024, $223 billion. So overall, $880 billion. That is the estimated gross domestic product of the SADC region. And in a moment, I'll be telling you about some of the potential that is seen by the leaders of the region as far as minerals are concerned. Because if you take a look at the countries that are part of SADC, my goodness, is there potential for mineral wealth. 50% global vanadium, platinum, diamond output. Diamonds alone, if you think about a country like Botswana, which is part of SADC, that's where much of the diamonds of the world come from. You think about Zimbabwe, it is home to what is known as the Great Dike. That Great Dike, we're told, comes with it, just on its own, with something in the region of 60 different minerals. You're just talking minerals without the qualifier that says critical minerals. You put that qualifier, then you are in a completely different terrain. Your DRCs, for example, the Democratic Republic of Congo, dominating cobalt production. Then you will have, as I was saying, your Zimbabwe with something in the region of at least 60 different minerals. You have your Angola to the west with oil and those kinds of reserves. So you see the potential. But at the summit, the conversation has aptly been about critical minerals. Remember, across the globe, really, the conversation is critical minerals as well as the rare earth minerals. Zimbabwe, for example, is the second biggest producer of PGMs, platinum group minerals in the world. So that tells you the potential that's there. It's all about industrialization. How do you build an industry from these minerals. Countries like Botswana will give you examples of dealing with your De Beers, for example, in saying that you will start doing more of the beneficiation on domestic soil where you find these minerals. So let's talk about the people. Despite all of that, of course, the region faces some of the deep developmental deficits that we talk about from time to time. More than 40 million people experience food insecurity in the region annually, and only about 63% have access to safe drinking water, and just 56% have electricity, both well below the regional targets. So that's part of the challenges that then come in as far as the region is concerned. The 2030 target for manufacturing's contribution to GDP in the region is something in the region of 30%, which of course is a goal that remains a bit distant. And of course that underscores this year's summit theme, right? Resilient, it's a mouthful actually. Resilient, sustainable and inclusive industrialization through infrastructure development, agricultural and critical minerals transformation, directly tackling those challenges that we've just told you about, that are interlinked as far as the development in the Southern African region is concerned. So that was some of what we wanted to share with you as far as the region is concerned. The SADC Summit on the go in KwaZulu-Natal. It is the 46th summit of the Southern African Development Community.